welcome to Morocco!
Good morning. Well, actually, I don't even know if you could call it that. But hello. I am about to head from Stansted Airport to Marrakech to host my first ever group trip with Plotpackers. And this is my first ever visit to Morocco and to the continent of Africa. Guys, I'm very excited. This is ticking off a new continent. I also have seen nothing but beautiful things about Morocco as a country. I'm so excited about this itinerary. I'm so excited to meet the group. I don't know anybody. I'm just going it completely solo. Feeling a little nervous, but mainly just quite excited. I feel as though I'm a bit more in the swing of this now. So I'm gonna bring you along. Come with me, let's go. It's 3:30 right now. I don't wanna stand and yap. You don't wanna watch this bit, you wanna watch the good bit. So let's fly to Marrakech. Hello from Marrakech. You join me from a shopping centre where I've just been catching up on some work before I meet the group. Now, I have actually already met some of the girls, but not everybody has arrived yet. So we went and grabbed the coffee, and then I was just doing some work in the cafe because I basically was like, if I can get on top of everything today, I don't have to do anything for a few days in terms of like being on my laptop, which obviously is ideal. But my first impressions of this city, I'm pleasantly surprised by how safe it feels, guys. Like, I have travelled a few places recently where I maybe wouldn't get my camera out on the street. Obviously I spent a lot of like the beginning of half of the year in South America and then in Sri Lanka, and there was just a couple of places where I was like, Marrakech does not feel like that. And I thought that maybe it would. So first impressions are really, really good. There's also just so much like cute stuff everywhere. Like, it's very, very colourful. Pretty much exactly as you would imagine it to be. But I don't know which way I'm going, so I'm gonna go so that I can look at a map. But yeah. Can't get over that my hair looks black in this lighting, but I've made it back to the hostel. Nobody else is here yet. I don't know where they are. I think because everybody's arriving at different times, people are just like going out to get food and stuff, and then we meet tonight at 6 p.m. but we're in a pretty good location. This hostel is like right in the center. Can't lie, it's pretty basic. It's like very much just your average hostel. Like, I feel as though unless you're in a country that's really well backpacked, so like parts of Southeast Asia, actually I was gonna say Australia, but Australia does not have great hostels. It's pretty standard. Like, you're getting bunk beds, that's it. We've got aircon, which I'm so grateful for because it's very like dry heat, I guess, because obviously we're not too far from the desert. I actually prefer that. It's so much better than it being humid. It means you're not as sweaty. Like, you're hot but you're not like dripping wet all the time. But I'm so grateful for the aircon. But I am just debating whilst I'm here by myself whether or not to go for a shower. I think I might. So we started our first evening with a traditional Moroccan meal. I'm not gonna lie, I've eaten more couscous in the last week than the rest of my life combined. And then before we knew it, it was the next morning. And as always, with any group trip and any start to a new country, we did a walking tour of Marrakech. And oh my goodness, guys, it's kind of exactly how I imagined it would be in terms of the markets, the scents, the sights. It was a sensory overload, but I mean that in the best way. And not long into the tour, we did actually stop off for coffee, which I was very happy about.
They make everything in a sand, bread, minty, coffee, everything, they make it in a sand. Okay, they take, for example, dry wood in Sahara. They take dry wood, for example, palm date wood, oregano wood. They burn it, they make the sand hot, and they make coffee. I give you to smell the spices.
It's gonna be nice.
Who knows?
I'm better apprehensive.
I'm sorry, I'm quite my tongue. Oh Christ, that's
Is it really hot?
it's bitter. It's not too hot. It's good. It's good. Is that coffee sweet?
Some sugar or something. This is where we are. The Madrasa Ben Youssef. Do we reckon that's correct? I reckon that's correct. And that looks like this, which is pretty beautiful. So, good morning. We are on our city walking tour of Marrakech, and we are currently in a school. This is a school, or it was a school. I think I could probably read a little bit more about it because there's signs and stuff everywhere, but we've mainly just been in this central bit. It's like a court, like a courtyard kind of area. But yeah, it's beautiful. I'm honestly kind of taken aback by the architecture everywhere, but specifically in here. But everywhere that we have walked through, like the markets and all of the little kind of like streets, just so beautiful. It's very sunny, it's very hot. And I think after this we might be heading for lunch, but this is genuinely such a beautiful landmark. I feel like we've all been saying I've never been anywhere like Morocco before. Like, this is probably the most unique location that I've been to in terms of like the buildings, the culture. It definitely helps that the sky is blue, because yesterday when we arrived it actually was a bit cloudy and it didn't look quite as beautiful as this. But today I'm like, okay, all the buildings being this kind of like dusky pink orangey colour. Big fan. Very, very nice. Do you think I've lost half of the group? So we'll be walking back over here. But yeah, I think what a solid start. What a beautiful city. I was about to say smile, guys, but no. I think you made it. I think it's called the Marrakech Garden. And here's a fun fact. This actually used to be owned by Yves Saint Laurent, as in the actual person, Yves Saint Laurent, not the brand, who used to live here. I think. I don't even know anything about him, but basically there's a museum just outside, and then there's also a museum behind me here, this blue building. The history is not great, but I was actually really shocked because we was walking down the street and it was called like Yves Saint Laurent Street, and I was like, that's so random, like why is it called that? And then basically turned out that he lived here for like most of his life, up until pretty much 2007, which is crazy because I didn't even know that he lived in Morocco. So I feel like I've learned a little bit, and when you look around, like if you look at the view that I'm looking at kind of through there like that, you can really see like why this would be pretty inspiring if you were a designer, because in every single direction it just really is beautiful. Like, it's just gorgeous, and the colours of everything are so vibrant. That is one thing I'm really noticing about Morocco, is how bright it all is, and I am really here for that because I just think it makes everything so much nicer. From the streets of Morocco, I am going to get a coffee because today it is hiking day and I'm excited about it. We're heading to the mountains in about an hour to go on a hike. Kind of in, I'll put the town name on the screen because I actually can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's only like an hour and a half long hike, which I think is going to be good because it's pretty hot, although apparently in the mountains it is going to be cooler. Something I quite like about this city especially is in the mornings, like right now, it's actually pretty cool. Like it obviously chills off during the evening because it's the desert, but then it gets really hot throughout the day, meaning that it's still hot in the evenings. This is my current view. I'm just walking through this market. I'm about to be taken out by a motorbike, which is very common occurrence here. And my current search is for a coffee. So we successfully found somewhere that did oat milk coffee, and this guy was so lovely, bless him. We went there every morning and I think he was like, what are all these girls doing? But this was the fuel we needed for our hike at the Atlas Mountain. We actually made a little stop off en route to learn about the properties of argan oil and how it's used in the beauty industry and also in food. We actually got to taste test some bits and bobs, and this was really good. We stopped for lunch before we started the hike on this beautiful river, and then that was it. We were ready to head into the mountains, and when I tell you that this was hot and sweaty, guys, I mean, it felt like a workout from the very first step just because of the heat. But you know what? I think that made the views even more rewarding, and everybody completed it in pretty good spirits. Yeah, not in a landscape like this. No, because it's like desert mountains. It's not even like mountains. Yay! These vibes. Potentially do think this might not be the best angle, but I am sitting on the rooftop of the hostel because it is like 10 p.m. now, and basically half of the group are going out for like a few drinks and cocktails, and half of the group have come back to go to bed. And I really need to get some work done because the thing with the group trip is during the day it's like quite full on. The lighting in here is also really intense. There's like blue LEDs behind the camera, so that's what that lighting is. But yeah, this is the roof of the hostel, so I felt like, you know what, I don't even mind. If I go up there, I'll be so much more productive than if I sit and do it in bed, because I'll just be chatting to the girls. We are in a shared room of 8, and I've not done hostels like this for a while, to be honest. Like, I kind of switched. Obviously, I've mainly been traveling with Tom, so we would always just get a private room in a hostel or be in a hotel, or the last few times I've solo traveled, it's been twin sharing rooms, but I've had my own room. because on group trips, obviously, like a lot of the time I'm working as well. So this is proving a little bit of a challenge, but we like a challenge, that's good. And I think that I'm getting a lot better with boundaries. I was just chatting to the girls about this. We were having this conversation about like how good are you at setting boundaries. That is one thing I love about group trips like this, because I've known these girls for 2 days, literally 48 hours, and we're already having like such deep chats. Like last night we were all sat around just chatting about like the world and the state of the world, and like you just get to know each other so quickly. And I think that that's just like my favorite thing ever, because I always used to think when I would watch like Love Island and stuff, I'd be like, don't understand why these people get so attached to each other so quickly. But now I understand it. Like when you do a group trip, it really is just like that. So yeah, feeling very lucky, very blessed. The girls are super, super lovely. Tomorrow we are actually leaving Marrakech to head towards the desert, which is kind of like the middle of our trip. And I'm really excited because although the city has been actually a pleasant surprise, I'm really like pleasantly shocked by how much I've enjoyed being in Marrakech. I think the main part of the trip that I was excited for was like the desert. We're glamping in the Sahara. We're going on quad bike. There's some more beautiful walks. There's just like a lot of exciting stuff that's like more specifically Moroccan coming up over the next few days. So I'm very excited, but right now we're gonna crack on. This is what's giving me the weird glow. This is the lighting up here. But you can kind of see it's very cool. Like this is not a bad like shared space in a hostel at all. It's very, very Moroccan, very, very, I don't know, just cozy. I'm really enjoying how colourful it all is. Gonna crack on and I shall see you guys bright and early in the morning. We've got an earlier start. We're leaving at 9, I think, or 9:30. So not early by any means, but earlier than today. Today started at 11, so less of a lie-in. And one thing I will say is nothing happens quickly here in Morocco. Like if you want to go out and get a coffee, that coffee could take 15 minutes for them to make. If you want to get breakfast, that could be 45 minutes. Like, so you've definitely got to allow a bit longer, but I shall catch up with you soon. So we drove from Marrakech to Ouzazarte. I hope that pronunciation is right. It definitely feels like it's wrong, but this is pretty famous because it has been in lots of movies. Most recently, this was in Outer Banks season 4, which is actually where I recognise this from, but it's also been in Game of Thrones, Indiana Jones, Gladiator, just to name a few. And you can kind of see why. This town has kind of managed to turn itself into a bit of a movie location. So there are actually quite a lot of touristy things to do here. It is quite a drive from Marrakech, but I'll say if you're planning a big trip to Morocco, that it is worth visiting just because of how interesting it is and what a unique landscape this is. This city kind of pops up out of the desert. There's nothing around it, and it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Anyway, from here we headed to our accommodation for the evening. This was kind of a stopgap before we actually made it to the Sahara Desert itself. Okay, if the lighting last night was blue, then this one is red, but it is dinner time. We have just arrived in Ouzazarte, I think is how you say it. We're gonna go for food. This is a really cute little like B&B style place. And the vibes are really vibing, and they've even got a swimming pool. Look at that for a sunset. I feel like you can't even really tell how beautiful this is. And we are chilling under this little tent. Hello. Again, it's now the evening. It gets dark pretty early here because obviously we're in the desert, so I feel like because we're pretty much at the equator, the daylight hours are nothing on the UK at the moment. So it's like 9 p.m. and we're about to go to bed, to be honest, because today's been a long day of travel and tomorrow we've got another long day of travel. But as you've seen, we're staying in this really beautiful venue. Well, kind of like a hotel. It's not really a hotel, it's like a B&B. And it's also just like somebody's house. Like they live here. The people that live here. It's like a community. They've got a swimming pool. Behind me there's a little coffee station. There's a restaurant. They run it all themselves and it is really, really genuinely very cute. Although I will say, because we're in the desert, it's very warm and the room that we're staying in doesn't really have any air conditioning. It's got a fan, but I think tonight's going to be a struggle. So yeah, we shall see. But I have really enjoyed my time here. Today has been the most chill day on the itinerary so far. We've literally just chilled at the pool once we arrived, which was like pretty much exactly what we needed. But this is what I'm looking at right now. It's like kind of the same vibes that you saw earlier, obviously now, but in the dark. Lots of really cool buildings. A very, very unique, very cool place to stay. It's not every night you stay in a location like this in the Moroccan desert. Like, we got up bright and early and headed on a big drive. This was a lot of driving on this trip, I'm not gonna lie. Morocco's quite spread out, but we broke it up with lots of interesting stops. My favorite was probably this one, where some local ladies did some amazing henna on all of our arms, and this actually lasted for most of the trip, and we ended up somehow having a little henna party. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. No toes, no free toes. That is crazy. Oh. Oh. Our next stop on the way to the desert was a little bit of a random one. It was actually to look at how they manage their water distribution system within the desert. I can't lie, I've never given this much thought, but actually it made a lot of sense. And then we arrived in the Sahara and we headed to the campsite where we were going to be glamping overnight in the middle of the desert. This was so cool, guys. We took dune buggies, kind of exactly how you would imagine. There were camels all over, everything was bright orange, everything was dusty, and before we knew it, we had arrived at our location for the evening. And I can't stress to you how unique this accommodation was. I've never stayed anywhere like this. Basically, it was this glamping campsite in the middle of nowhere, and there were about 6 of us to one of these tents. I don't really know if you can call it a tent. It was like carpeted on the ceiling, on the walls, but it was actually very, very cool. Crazy that is just a camel, like an actual real life camel, just chilling, not phased at all. But I actually thought it was pretty cool. And one good thing I will say, guys, no bugs. Couple of flies, but no bugs. There was also like a communal area where they were constantly serving us tea, and at the back of the campsite there were camels, multiple camels just chilling here. Honestly, it was kind of exactly how you might imagine the Sahara Desert, and I was thoroughly enjoying myself. This was definitely my favorite location so far. So this room is home for the night. You can kind of see it here. I'm very windswept because we've been in like sand buggies. I will say it's very, very hot, but I will also say it's very, very cool. I've literally never slept anywhere like this. I've camped in the outback of Australia before, but never in like a glamping yurt kind of thing, which is what we're in now.
Okay, then look the camera, look the phone, 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 look the phone. Everyone look forward, yeah. Okay, run to camera, run, guys, run.
Cute, very cute. Oh, I feel like it's raining.
I think it is. I felt some droplets. It's raining into the Sahara.
Yeah, it's a nice temperature. How often does it rain in the Sahara Desert?
Probably never.
I bet that's like once a year.
Honestly.
Yeah, we've brought it. Brought it from the UK. Oh yeah.
Yay! Welcome to Morocco!
It's the hips for me. Our evening was spent celebrating Kerry's birthday, one of the girls on the trip, and also just enjoying some time together around a campfire. Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday! Look at this!
That is so pretty.
So pretty. I would love to know like who made it. Where did they find it? In the middle of the desert.
That is amazing.
Yeah, one between 2.
Okay, I'm gonna cut straight between in the middle.
I think cutting a cake is quite stressful. Like, how are you going to do it?
hands are shaking.
She's shaking.
Genuinely.
It's an awkward shape, yeah.
I like the knife.
There we go, right. I'm not sure how easy that would be to...
Divide.
I'll cut one and then someone else can just take it because I don't like this pressure.
Yeah.
Good morning from the desert, the actual desert. I'm going to stand here so that hopefully this might shelter the wind a bit and you can hear me. But I actually did manage to sleep last night. I didn't have the worst sleep. It was very, very hot, I'm not gonna lie, but I kind of think once you've got used to the heat, or you just got used to the fact that you're completely damp, it's fairly easy to stay asleep. It's just getting to sleep. So once I got to sleep, it was fine. But yeah, we've woken up. I'm feeling fresh-ish. We are staying obviously with like a community of people that work on this absolutely beautiful site. Look at what we woke up to this morning. Like, this is just insane. I cannot believe I've spent the night here. This is definitely up there in the top 3 most rogue and cool locations I've ever slept, I think, in terms of accommodation. But the kind of like family that run this whole place have started cooking us breakfast. It smells incredible. I think it might be pancakes. The food last night was pretty good. As you saw, it was Kerry's birthday, so we had like a whole celebration, and then they treated us to some music by the campfire. Not gonna lie, I don't think we needed a campfire in 40-degree heat, but it was fun nevertheless. And today is probably the day I've been looking forward to the most on the itinerary, because after breakfast I think about half of the group, maybe a little bit more, are actually going ATV quad biking up the sand dunes. Like, I'm so excited about this. I've actually never ridden a quad bike before. Like, every single time I've been on a quad bike, Tom has driven it for me. I am the definition of a passenger princess. However, Tom is not here, which I'm so sad about. I'm always gutted on these trips when Tom isn't here, because I just know this specific location is so up his street. Like, this camping in the desert, he would love this. So I think we're just gonna have to come back. But obviously today I can't rely on him to drive, so I'm gonna have to drive myself. But yeah, I'm gonna go for breakfast. It is just so peaceful. Like, when I say there's just nothing around in any direction, it's like 1% frightening, but 99% really cool. Pretty windy as well, so I don't know how good the audio will be, but if I walk straight down here, there should be breakfast waiting at the end of it, which is very exciting. And of course, tea and coffee. One thing about Morocco is they love tea. They're going to serve you mint tea at every opportunity. This was hands down my favourite activity that we did on this trip, although I have never been so aggressively attacked by sand and the wind. We're going, woo! The combination together, lethal. Sand was in my eyes, it was in my ears, it was in my hair. I literally had it everywhere. My camera, my poor camera, took a battering. My phone took a battering, but it was so worth it because I drove my own quad bike on these sand dunes and I did not crash it. I was very, very proud. Like, I think it'd be pretty difficult to crash a quad bike, but like, if anybody could do it, it's probably me. And we survived in one piece, so I was very, very happy. Honestly, the worst part of this was we jumped straight on the bus from quad biking, so I was sandy for the next 8 hours and we had a long old drive to Fes. Welcome to Fes. This is our next location. I'm sorry a lot of this vlog is voiced over. I hope you don't mind. I find it sometimes easier to be a bit more concise with what I'm telling you. And as like I mentioned, whenever I'm with a new group of people, I find vlogging like this to the camera a little bit awkward. And also sometimes it's easy to get caught up in making new friends and meeting new people. But this is Fes, a city you may have heard of. There's a pretty famous hat called a Fes, maybe you've heard of that. That actually originates from here. And we started our time here with another walking tour of its 9,000 streets. Yep, it has 9,000 tiny streets and alleyways and you can explore all of them. And we had a really, really great tour of all of the different local crafts. So you could find everything here, from carpets and rugs to gold to jewelry.
Never rust, so you clean with lemon juice and it's hygienic to use with food, okay? Beside of the plate, it's like the Alibaba cave. You will see the jewelry, the lamps, the teapot over there.
However, they're probably most famous for their tanneries, which is basically the production of leather. And they're basically working in these massive kind of like water troughs where they will dye the leather, they'll treat the leather. To be honest, I don't know that much about how all of this works, but it was really interesting to see. And I would say that's probably what Fes is most well known for. So I'm really glad we got to visit. I will say, however, it was 42 degrees and leather in 42 degrees stinks, guys. Like that is a smell.
The catties also are everywhere.
Yeah, so many cats. Oh my gosh, there's 3.
4.
4?
6.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
5.
Oh no. That's like a whole work of art. That's very cool. He's ready. Oh.
Handsome man.
Very handsome.
Oh, thank you. You are welcome.
Super, super interesting to see kind of all of the local crafts that go on here. Wow. It's time for a cooking class. We're making some traditional Moroccan food. And this was one of the activities on the itinerary that I was actually the most excited about. Right. No, I'm actually pretty happy with it.
Might not be any good.
Hey, that's that. It looks okay. You know what? It looks cooked, which is more than it did like 10 minutes ago. So. Yeah, me too. I was like, raw chicken. Oh, I do think it looks pretty good. I think we should be proud of it too, guys. A whole table of food that we've made ourselves. Woo! Yeah.
Say hello. Oh, we do.
Hi. Who is it? Who is it?
Oh, so cute. Oh my god. Oh, you are not camera shy, are you?
Not even a little bit. Hello from Rabat. This is Morocco's capital city, which I feel as though is something that you might not know, because I would have guessed that Marrakech was the capital of Morocco. I don't know where I'd got that from. I think it's probably just because I've heard of it the most. Between that and Casablanca, I feel like they're the cities that I was most aware of, but then no, turns out Rabat is the capital city. We arrived here this afternoon from Fes, which is where we spent the last 2 days, and I didn't actually really speak to you guys because, not gonna lie, we were in a very busy hostel, and I also just feel as though on group trips, and I say this a lot of the trip is about like bonding with the group, chatting with the group, spending time all together, and especially when we're in shared dorm accommodation, I am simply too shy to get the camera out and chat in front of a group of 16 complete strangers. This is noisy. Anyway, we have arrived at our hostel. We went to the beach this afternoon, and that was really nice because one thing about Rabat, which I think I prefer to Fes, is it's on the coast. You guys know I'm a beach girl. I want to be by the ocean. Yeah, basically now we're going to head out for dinner. We found a rooftop bar. We're basically going to have like the last 24 hours of the trip be pretty bougie because I feel as though everybody kind of wants to treat it a little bit more like a holiday. So that is our plan. Welcome back to the chatty section of the vlog. Fes, I will say, probably not my favorite city I've ever visited just because it was very crowded. Like the appeal to Fes is that it's got like 9,000 tiny alleyways. Like it's got this thing called the 9,000 streets, and they are tiny little streets, so it felt quite claustrophobic. I don't know, if you've been to Fes, let me know what you think. But between that and obviously we're walking around as like a big group of girls, and I think that sometimes they don't see that many big groups of girls. Feels a little bit like we're a tourist attraction for the men. I don't know, that was just a personal opinion, and I feel like that throughout a few countries. Morocco is definitely one of them. I said that when I was in Sri Lanka as well. I definitely think it is sometimes it's just because they're not used to it, and because especially like Fes is slightly less of a touristy area than say like here or Marrakech. Just giving you an honest review of the country, and now I'm very excited to head out and have some dinner because I think we're gonna aim to have pizza. Last night we obviously had the Moroccan food that we cooked, which actually was amazing, so flavorful. But I'm excited for like pizza, pasta, something familiar. So this is the Mohammed V Mosque, and it's kind of one of the most iconic and religious buildings in all of Morocco because it actually has the bodies in the tombs of the 2 most recent kings. I think that's true, I'll fact check that. And then behind me is the Hassan Tower, and if you're wondering what all of these towers are that are like dotted around, basically these are the foundations for the mosque that they started to build in the 13th century and then never finished. So these are just all left how they are, kind of like this, and obviously now it's like a tourist attraction. And then the building behind me was built afterwards. I'm not actually too sure on the specific dates, but obviously very old. I will say this is like probably my favorite tourist attraction that we've visited. It feels very spacious, very clean. You have to be like fully covered up to come here, and also I think just an important part of Morocco's history, because I will say Morocco has a really unique and interesting history between like colonialism and then like the indigenous, they're called Berbers, like Moroccans that lived here before it was colonized. Basically we've been learning about it the whole time, but the Berbers are like the original indigenous Moroccan people, and that is their culture. And then there's been a second wave of like Arabic culture, and then a third wave of French culture, which then means that it's a really unique and interesting mix, and the history is different everywhere that you go. So this city's quite European looking, quite French, and I imagine that like Casablanca on the coast is quite similar to that, whereas then Fes and Marrakech are very different again. So yeah, I've definitely found it interesting seeing the different places and seeing like the different history, the different buildings, the different architecture. And I will be honest, I feel as though I probably need to read up and brush up on that a little bit more, because I do think sometimes when you're walking around in the heat and stuff, it's like difficult to take everything in and like apply it and know like when that happened and stuff. But I would add this to your list if you're visiting Rabat. It is really beautiful, and it's also not as hot here as it has been in all of the other cities. It also makes for some really cool photos because everywhere you've got these gorgeous leading lines and all these gorgeous buildings with this gorgeous architecture. Just like that, it is the final morning of our Morocco trip. I've just had the best night's sleep of the whole trip, but I am of course running slightly late and in a bit of a rush, so I think I'm gonna do a full like kind of roundup at the end, just because I am aware that this vlog's been super bitty. And if you are watching because you're planning your own trip, I do think that like there's a couple points I want to chat over. Right now I need to go and catch a flight, so we're gonna go and do that, but I will catch up with you very soon. We're heading back to Manchester. Let's go. And just like that, we have come to the end of this vlog. You joined me from back at home. I landed into Manchester. It was easy, actually. One thing I will say about this trip, easiest I've ever done in terms of getting there, because you can fly with EasyJet and Ryanair to Morocco, which is amazing. But I just kind of wanted to jump in and do a little roundup, because this was a group trip that was very different to any that I've done before. I think that Morocco as a country and as a culture was sort of how I expected it to be, but still sort of a little bit of a culture shock in terms of, and I think I mentioned this a few times throughout the vlog, there's a lot of places, and I'm not saying that this is everywhere, and I'm definitely not saying that it's everybody, but there were a lot of places where, as a young woman and as a girl, I would not have really wanted to be alone. Like, I think that I always try to be really honest at the end of a vlog, because so many people watch these because they're planning their own trip, or they're looking to solo travel somewhere, or, you know, they're just researching the country, and I wouldn't want to sugarcoat it, because I kind of went with the expectation of, I'm not too sure on their values of how they treat women and how they think of women and view women, and I was very aware of that from the get-go, so it didn't shock me, but I also want to highlight it. And I think that this was kind of a common denominator throughout the whole group. And I will say, I think that sometimes when you're on a group tour and it's like very obviously you're tourists, you stand out that little bit more. I think that I notice it less when it's just Tom and I traveling, because we blend in a little bit more. We're not always super obviously tourists. Well, maybe we are, but like, you know, we don't stand out as much. There's not a big gaggle of us standing on the pavement. I think sometimes people see a huge group of girls and you do just attract attention. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but you just do. And I think that there were times where I was like, oh, I don't think I would rush back to this location just because of that. However, Marrakech, I will say, felt fairly safe. I think that I would definitely go back there. If I was doing another Morocco trip, I'd probably base myself out of Marrakech, and I would like go to the Atlas Mountains, maybe go to the Sahara Desert, because in those locations, the landscape was so beautiful. The people were really friendly. We were staying at accommodation where the people like lived there, and those people could not do enough for you. They were kind. They were, you know, just making sure that everybody was having the best time. Very much, very accommodating. I don't want to generalize and say that this was everybody, because it wasn't. And you do get it anywhere. Like, the more I travel, the more I realize this is not country by country specific. It's just worldwide, which is a shame. But I think that, yeah, if I personally was planning a trip back to Morocco, I would base myself in Marrakech. That is my review and my feedback at the end. I don't mean to be controversial. I would love to hear from you if you have been to Morocco and you ventured outside of like a resort, because that's one thing I will say. It's a very popular tourist destination in terms of holidaying and staying in a nice resort, and I think that I see the appeal of that genuinely, because there were times where I thought, wow, I kind of do wish I was just chilling by a pool right now, especially in the heat. I think another top tip is I probably wouldn't visit again in June. It's just a little bit too hot, and that's coming from somebody that likes the heat. I enjoy like 30 plus degrees, but 40 plus degrees is completely different, and I think that it's just a little bit too hot. So if I was going to go again, I'd maybe look at like April, May, September, October, just to give you some tips and just to give you a little overview. But I would also like to add that this group of people was so lovely. I sound like a broken record. I say it at the end of every trip, and I feel like I've just got incredibly lucky, because every trip I've done, the groups have been amazing. Everybody I meet is just so lovely, and it blows my mind every time, because I'm like, how do I keep stumbling across this many like-minded people in you guys that watch these videos and you guys that come on these trips? I just feel like I'm making so many friends, which is just so special. So if you're watching this and you were on that trip, thank you so much for that. I feel like the memories I come away with from all of my times traveling are always to do with the people that I've met and the experiences that we've got to share together. And how often do you glamp in the Sahara Desert? Not very often. So I want you to think that what I've just said takes away from that. And now the vlog is really, really long, so I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got all the way to the end, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you've been to Morocco, if you would like to visit. And I shall see you guys in my next video, which will be from back at home on my channel on Saturday. Goodbye.